We just released the production version of the new JetShark 4-seat submersible watercraft, which you see here. We thought we'd do a quick video sort of showing some of the differences between the production version and the original prototype that we designed and built about 4 years ago and have been testing and refining to end up where we are today. So the first thing you'll notice between the two boats is just the size difference. The Q1 was a much bigger boat, much higher volume. So we put it on a bit of a diet, slimmed it down, and made the Q2 or the production version way more slim, and took a lot of the volume out of the hull. So we've still got the deep V hull that the Q1 had, but in a much smaller package. This hull resembles more of the sea breacher hull than we had on the Q1, and we've noticed just a much better performance on the surface with that. Volume is very important with the submersible watercraft because every square foot you have to take underwater just requires that much more power in order to get it underwater. So sort of like the equivalent of weight for an aircraft. So anytime you can shed volume, you make it much more efficient. In doing that though, we tried not to alter the interior cockpit space, so the cockpit space in the two boats remains about the same. So yeah, the hull, pretty deep V. The wingspan is actually about a foot narrower on the production version than this one. That's for a couple of reasons. One is we have them in these internal chines, so they start further in, whereas these ones had little winglets that stuck out. So that makes the boat narrower and just more efficient. Due to the new hull shape, the wings remain underwater when you're planing, whereas these ones, when we're up on plane, would sort of come in and out of the water, creating a lot more, inconsistent splashing, and you'd have to drive it pretty nose high in order to maintain a trimmed out position on the surface, and that wasn't super efficient. So it made visibility a bit harder, whereas this one glues to the water really well. So we're much happier with this hull shape. Another difference you'll notice is the Q1 was basically a monocoque like the Sea Breacher. It didn't have a rub rail, which means had to be built as one piece, and that made fabrication incredibly complicated, and then it would have to be bodyworked and painted like that. Looked cool, but it wasn't very practical. Whereas you'll see on the production version, we have this rub rail running the entire length of the boat, and that gives a little bit of protection, if you bump into a dock or something, but also it hides the seam between the hull and the deck. So this production JetShark is built more like a conventional boat, where we can seam it together, so it makes construction just a lot more efficient. The engine bay on the production version is much smaller. We've basically got no leftover space in there. We've really shrunk that down. The hull gets way narrower towards the tail. It's a lot more sleek towards the back. That meant we had to lose this walkway around the side of that we had on the Q1. You'll notice that's gone on the production version. I think it looks way better like this. We just found that the rub rail or the walkway along here, we just didn't really end up using as much as we thought we would. It was pretty difficult to access the engine hatch from there, so we just decided that wasn't really worth the extra volume that it took in order to have that as a feature. So yeah, the couple of engine choices we're offering for the production JetShark. This is the Q600, which has a 600 horsepower supercharged engine. We'll also be offering a naturally aspirated version called the Q400, which will have this engine right here. They're both made by Kodiak Marine, 6.2 litre General Motors engines, marinized. Good, reliable, powerful engines. So yeah, there's the two versions that we're offering at the moment, Q400 and the Q600. When we start offering them for commercial operations, they'll probably be more likely to opt for the Q400 for simplicity and efficiency, and fuel, minimizing fuel use. But, you know, I'm a big fan of this Q600 supercharged engine. So it's pretty tightly packed in here, but it's actually not an engine much larger than the Q400. It's a little bit heavier, but you can see the supercharger up there on top. But yeah, we've really made this a pretty efficient package compared to the original prototype, which just had a lot of leftover room in the engine bay. But yeah, pretty looking engine package. You've got twin gull wing doors to access the engine bay, and then if you have to remove the engine for any reason, it's really easy to unbolt the snorkel, remove that backbone, and just lift the engine out. Another significant change between the prototype and the production version is the jet units we used. In the Q1 we used the Hamilton jet. It's a pretty common jet unit, 212. Pretty nice jet unit. It's only a single impeller and it can really only handle about 400 horsepower, so it just doesn't really have the ability to manage much more than that. In the production Jet Shark we switched to a Southern Jet 216, which is a fantastic jet unit. It's a twin impeller. It's a lot longer, but fortunately we managed to move the jet unit way closer to the engine, so the drive shaft is a good foot shorter, so the overall dimensions of the boat haven't changed in the length. This jet unit can handle up to 700 horsepower, so it doesn't really matter whether you pick the Q400 or the Q600, that jet unit will eat it up. And super efficient jet unit. We've done a direct comparison between the jet units, and we've just found, you know, it's just a little bit more efficient on the surface with the same engine. So we're real happy with the Southern Jet for production. Even though we've shrunk the external dimensions of the production Jet Shark considerably, the internal dimensions of the cockpit remains basically the same, which is nice. So you've got plenty of room in here. We're still keeping the twin gull wing door design that we had on the prototype. Really happy with those. They look fantastic. Means that you can run on the surface full speed with the doors wide open, run it just like a regular boat, and then when you're ready to go into a dive, you can just close down the hatches, pump up the pneumatic seals, and cruise underwater. We've got 2 pneumatic seals in the production version rather than just the single in this one. One around the perimeter of the doors themselves, and then there'll be one in the register. So you'll have that little bit of extra redundancy just to keep it more watertight. You'll see the dashboard layouts changed a bit. This one has a 3-screen cockpit arrangement or dashboard arrangement compared to the prototype one, which had 2 screens there. And you'll still have a lot of the same avionics or you know, onboard electronics here, but we've made the snorkel camera, which is mounted up on the top of the fin there in that ring light, the primary display. So the moment you turn on the ignition, it'll default to the snorkel cam, but you can also display other information on the top of that if you want. You know, you can have other engine management information, speed. You can have a rear view camera. There'll be a lot that you can do. So you can customize all these screens. But yeah, I really like the triple screen layout. I think it's a lot more efficient. You've got less blind spots. The visibility inside this cockpit is better than the production version. So, you know, you can go through different menus here. You got your engine instrumentation, you got your air conditioning, which you can activate from up here, and then you've got GPS for, you know, navigation. Go through those screens, put whatever you want. Then you've got your pneumatic systems down there. We also have a backup engine management system that's more analog, so you can do that. This particular Jet Shark is only set up as a single helm station with the original hydraulic controls, but we'll be offering it as a twin helm station just like we had in the prototype Jet Shark. So you'll be able to, you know, train people or take turns driving. That system will still be available. This one is operated by hydraulic controls, which is the same as the prototype. The issue we found with the hydraulics were just a little slow. You just noticed there was a bit of a delay. It was strong and it was pretty reliable, but it just wasn't fast. So we're we're implementing a fly-by-wire system, which we're testing in a sea breacher right now, and that should be integrated into the production Jet Shark very soon. So you'll actually have a side joystick, which you see here, so you'll basically be able to move that instead of this big joystick, and you'll have a joystick for the right pilot, and then if you want you can have one for the left pilot as well, and then twin pedals are available again. So yeah, that's a new system that we're developing, and we're pretty excited to get that integrated into the Jet Shark. Yeah, so again, 2 engine packages. This is the Q600. We also have the Q400. The fuel tank, we managed to get a bigger fuel tank in this boat, again, even though the external dimensions is bigger. We figured if we were putting the supercharged engine in, we definitely needed to have a little bit more fuel capacity. So we've got close to 50 gallons in this, which is under and behind the rear seats. We also added a bit of a storage locker, so you can fold these rear seats forward to access a locker. Not a ton of room there, but you know, you can keep life jackets, backpacks, you know, that sort of thing. Plus we'll also have lockers here on the side, and you know, just pouches for storage, that sort of stuff. Again, you know, onboard stereo, entertainment, electronics, lighting, all the bells and whistles that people have come to expect and want in a vessel like this. Air conditioning comes standard on both the Q400 and the Q600. We moved the position of that in the Q1. We had it up there in the nose, which just made it way more difficult to access, and it's not a good place to have an air conditioning unit for you know, pounding and jumping and landing. So we've actually moved the air conditioning unit itself into the storage locker behind the seat. So yeah, that's pretty efficient. This boat actually has double bulkheads, whereas the Q1 prototype just had the single bulkhead. So effectively the engine and jet unit were just separated by one bulkhead, and even though it had soundproofing on it, you know, you'd still hear pretty loud engine noise. The Q600, or sorry, the production version, both the 400 and the 600 have 2 bulkheads. So there's one right here in front of the engine, then you have your storage with you know, insulation, sound insulation, and then you've got your cockpit bulkhead. We have also changed the trailers considerably. This is the production Jet Shark trailer here, which is an option that you can add to it. You still got the, you know, tandem axle trailer with brakes. It's an all aluminum trailer, good for the salt water. We've raised it up a bit though. The reason we raised the boat up a little bit is just to make it that much easier to launch and retrieve, and the boat ramp just basically glides right off the back like any regular boat. We did make a change to the wings. So these wings are basically 2-piece wings, which means if you want to remove the wings when you're traveling down the road, or storing it, or putting it inside a toy box on a yacht or something, those are removable from the outside with 2 quick pin releases. So it's pretty easy to pull the wings, whereas in the Q1 you had to disassemble the mechanisms on the inside of the boat to pull them out, and you know, the wings were pretty heavy. So this is definitely, you know, much more user friendly. And if you do run it on the surface, you can run it without these big wings and just run the small little sub wings up there. You obviously can't do any dives or anything, but you know, you can cruise it around like that. The snorkel or fin on top of the boat remains pretty much the same as on the prototype Jet Shark. They're both removable, so you can remove the snorkel with about 10 bolts pretty easily, and then just disconnect the electronics. There's 2 separate air systems, one that goes into the cockpit and one goes to the engine bay, so they're completely separated, and you know, you're getting a good volume of fresh air whether the cockpit's open or closed. And you know, as I say, the wings are also removable, and we'll have a fold-away tongue on the front. So for shipping and transportation, this boat will be able to fit in a conventional shipping container. So we've definitely built it around those dimensions. But yeah, so that's basically a rundown of where we've started and where we're at now and what the production version's like. I guess the thing that I'm the most thrilled about though is just the look of the boat. I just think it's come such a long way visually. It looks faster, it looks more sleek. I couldn't be happier with it. So yeah, we're taking orders right now. We've got about 3 other Jet Shark builds on the go at the moment. So yeah, we'll be starting to deliver those, mid to late this year. We're excited to get those out on the water. But yeah, keep an eye out. We'll have more videos posting soon. If you have any questions, hit us up and we'll be more than happy to answer them.